Hey, all colors out there. Welcome back to another episode of Comic Book Coloring Tips and Tricks. I believe this is episode 14, and today we're going to be focusing on textures, using textures, coloring comic books. Sorry, it's been a while since my last video. Just things have been hectic, busy schedule, personal life. Sure, you guys don't want to hear all my excuses, but I'm going to try. I'm recording this video, and hopefully right after this one I'll be able to record another one so I'll get caught up. Try to release both of these by the end of the week. So yeah, here we have another piece by Jeremy Dale. His stuff is a lot of fun to color, and this is from his book Skyward. And again, I'll put links in the description where you can find all this good stuff. One thing I love about his work on Skyward is all the nature fun stuff that he does, and it's perfect for. I had a couple of requests for showing how to use textures, whether it be photos or brushes in nature to help kind of speed up the process. Back in the day, what we used to do, I think it was big. Liquid that really brought around this technique, where you'd make your shapes, then you'd go in there with your airbrush tool or what have you. I'm just going to use a dodge tool real quick just to kind of show you what I'm talking about, and then you could just kind of work in more shapes into it. And then here's your bigger highlight, and maybe a few extra leaves over here, fun stuff like that. And then you have like your shadow. And then we come down here. So it's kind of looking like that. Now, with the computers being a lot more powerful, we can use different texture brushes a lot easier, faster techniques, using photos and whatnot. But one thing that I don't think people get the hang of when using textures or photos for textures, actually let me clean that up so it doesn't mess me up later. Is that everything? Yeah. Alright, get rid of that. Oh yeah, let me get a one thing. A good place to start. What I use Adobe Bridge for, I'll just use it as my morgue file. And you guys may have heard me talk about morgue file a couple times. And in the old days, what it used to be was like an actual file cabinet or a drawer system with different folders. So it's like if you needed reference for a car, you would have pictures of cars in that folder. Or if you needed some tree reference or something like that, you'd have a folder in there for trees or nature stuff if you want to get even broader with it. That's pretty much what I use Adobe Bridge for. I have no problem navigating my folder system that I have on my desktop and everything like that. So I don't really have much other use for it. So, like I said, just use it as my morgue file. And at the office, my day job, I do a lot of photo compositing, so this really helps save me a lot of time. So I have a thing full of building facades, billboards, skylines. Here's like some building fronts that coworkers have built or I've built. It comes in handy. You can just take these and transform them into shape in the backgrounds and stuff like that. Really, really easy to fill up some space. Let me see. Let me get that back. There we go. So I have all kinds of building textures as well. Brick walls, sidewalks, carpet, dirt floors, granite for countertops, wet pavements. And ideally, you would either go out and take the photos yourselves, like the wet pavement textures I have here. Late one night after or at work, we're doing like a lot of car spots, and we needed a wet wet pavement with like reflecting lights and stuff like that. And we went out to the parking lot and flooded it with buckets of water. Positioned our cars around so we got like the right lights that we wanted, and took a bunch of pictures. And so I have those so we can use them whenever. Um, Dirt, rocks, whatever, brick walls. Go out, just go around downtown or wherever. Go out to the park, get pictures of grass, trees, and stuff like that. It's really really handy to have around. Um, Cloth textures, for uh, regular fabric, for denim, plaid, fur textures, different stuff. Helps save you a lot of time. Um, what I'm after though is the nature backgrounds. Here I have shots of beaches, good shots of water, clouds, different skies, tons of different grasses, trees, a lot of this stuff as well. Would be from 3D models, that you could render out on your own, get your lighting correct for what you're looking for and stuff. But ideally you either want royalty-free stuff or stuff that you went out and made yourself or did up yourself. If you're going to use it for print, if it's just because a lot of this stuff is just behind the scenes, nobody in public sees it. So a lot of times I'll just grab stuff from Google Images, which you'll see here. This stuff here is a lot of my trees. I had a friend of mine render out just a whole lot of 3D stuff for me. I'm trying to find something I could use as an example of how not to do it using textures. Yeah, this looks good. So here's a picture of a tree. I've already cut it out from the background. So we have our image here. Just grab that, bring it over. And I've seen this quite a bit. Let me see. Put that on a new layer, and I'll just put the tree on a clipping mask, where people will just put just the photo like that, and then call it a day. And a bunch of problems with that. First, you're looking at photographic trees that doesn't really match with the style of the line art, which is more cartoony, and and it also looks very flat. A lot of times, like the lighting on the tree won't match up with the lighting on the drawing, or just the scale of the leaves is wrong, for what we have. Then we kind of see that here, where in the foreground here, the leaves will be one size, but as I go back into here in the middle ground of the frame, the leaves would be smaller, and then even smaller as we get to this background tree over here. So you got to make sure you're watching out for perspective and everything as well as you're doing it. And let me show you the way I was approaching it. One way that I do it is I'll have, and again I'll do this all on clipping masks. It's a lot faster for me just to do that. So I'll copy my leaves color onto the new layer, and I'll have it's like bocce, just a texture, random textures. You can either do it with a brush. I think I had like a smaller area, maybe like this big, and then just cloning it out, and kind of brushing it over here, and stuff. And then I have a little bit more detailed. Let me see, this is like some leaf type of texture I had. And again, just something I had put together from different photos, pictures that I had taken. And I just set it up as one huge, let's see, put that on normal. Let me get rid of the clipping mask so you can see. So it's very generic looking, just, a nice bumpy texture. So I'll set the opacity at 80% and throw that on overlay. And this other one down here, the first bumpy one that I was showing you, that's on normal. So you could go in, adjust this, whatever colors you needed. So if we wanted like an autumn tree, I could bring it more over here. And the nice thing about it is we still have that randomness in it with the different with the bleh. Oh well, you know what I mean. Still the randomness in the leaves. Couldn't talk for a second there. Okay, so we have the other texture on there. And next up, I have a layer on multiply. And yes, it is my favorite color, blue, that I do on multiply all the time. And you can see, let me put another layer on there. So you can see this is all just a bunch of different texture brushes. And if a while back, a couple months back, I had a video showing you how to make your own texture brushes. And you could do that with it's like a photo of leaves, or however you want to, or you could do a search, do a Google search or a search on DeviantArt for leaf texture brushes. They're not always winners, and a lot of them you'll have to adjust yourselves. Let me see if I can find. See, I had a leaves spotty. I'm not sure if that was one I was using on here or not. Let me take that off of the clip. Okay, now I can see it. So it's really random, and that's how leaves really are. They are random. So you can throw in different colors, different shades, and everything. There's also, I have a basic one. So I don't know if you could see that, but again, it's really random. Has the scattering on, along with the angle jitter. Really important to get that randomness going. And one of my other brushes I was using up here is my block. It's like a dry block is what I call it. But so it's really random, and just kind of going in, painting in the shadows, maybe going in, erasing out a little bit. But you can see the basic steps where I was going with it. Let me get rid of that layer, and I'll turn these back on to clipping mask so it's cleaner. Again, this is on multiply. Of course, that's way too dark. I think I had it on. Oops, let me turn those on. Okay, that looks better. I believe I had it like at 70%. But again, you're going to adjust it depending on your lights and darks. And then just for this, objects that are closer to us are going to appear darker. So this tree in the background, I just left it a lighter shade, and just kind of darkened up these foreground leaves. And again, that'll look really nice. It's like once the tree trunks were colored, I would have the darker parts darker. They would be in the shadow from the leaves as well, and that'll leave a nice dark area up here at the top for the logo. You want to make sure that logo pops at all times. And then, just kind of putting in a little bit of highlights here and there. Again, this is probably more underneath, not really catching the light so much. So I didn't want to put too much on there. But you can see how much a big difference this is compared to this. The coloring style fits the art style a bit better, and you don't have to worry about people laughing at you. So yeah, that's how I usually conquer the leaves. Or you could go in there a little bit more with the lasso tool and make some selections if you want to. This is just one way that I do it. Of course, there's a bunch of different ways. Just like anything else in Photoshop. Next up, I want to show you grass. So again, I see a lot of times people just taking photos of grass and just slapping it in there. Not really worried about the size of it or the. Let's see. Here's a good one. Not really worrying about the size or the perspective of it. Let me throw this down here. So you'll get a little something like that. And like, yeah, that looks fine. No, it really doesn't. Again, the grass in the back is going to be a lot lighter and, a lot smaller blades of grass. So kind of what I have cooking on here, this is a different photo I had of grass, but after adjusting it, airbrushing on top of it, really making it really subtle. Because I don't want people to look at that and say, hey, that's a photo of grass. I just want people to barely notice the texture. And I'm just using that again as a starting point. Uh, and again, just kind of mixing in. The grass here in the background is going to be a lot lighter because there's less tree cover way back here. So just kind of introduce a little bit of this blue color from the sky, and then down in the foreground here, make it a little bit darker. And let me see on this one, get another layer going so I can show you. I have a couple grass brushes as well. One that comes with Photoshop, I see people use a lot, and let me see if I can get that going. Oops, release. There we go. Is this little guy? That just doesn't work. I know it's the wrong color, but even if it was the right color, it still wouldn't work. Or the three-bladed guy, you know, and nah. If you're showing this in your professional work, then yeah, no thanks. It doesn't work out. It just looks like you're looking for the easy way. So a lot of times you want to find, like, again, those texture brushes and stuff. I have a couple that I'll use for grass, and they don't really look like grass. Let me open up a new layer so I can show you what I'm talking about here. I just open it up on top. So, you know, again, it's real subtle. And the way you'd use this is, say, like, you have a field, and you just kind of go over, you know, a little bit here and there with some highlights. You know, maybe showing little patches of sun or something like that. And then one of the other ones I have, I believe, is grass 2. And again, it's really random. You would just show, you know, the sun hitting little bits of the grass here and there. And let me get rid of that. And so that's what this one is. It's just hitting little bits of it here and there. Oops, that's right, clipping. Then I just went over with a overlay layer, a little bit of white, and just going over some spots here and there, and that'll show a little bit more variation in the colors. Which, you know, if you go outside, it's not all just like one color green or 3 shades of green for your shadow, midtone, and highlight. It's all kinds of different colors. And then lastly, what I just quickly just went in with a what I call, like, my hybrid brush. It's 50% hard, 50% soft. It's just like right there in the middle. Just throw on the shape dynamics, and, you know, just go in there, you know, and just draw your little blades. And again, it doesn't have to be tons. Even just like a couple, you know, like here in the background, just a couple here and there. And with these guys here, just make sure you're going with the drawing. And that'll all tie it in a lot smoother. So yeah, that's what I had on the grass. And so let's say, okay, we got those. Let me get rid of that. One other thing you want to watch out for, it's like I have the trees with the texture, I have the grass with the texture. One thing you don't want to do, let me grab my thing back up here. Let me see, do I have a nice... Actually, yeah, this one here looks pretty good. Let me try this. And again, you just want to make sure, you know, you put everything in the proper perspective. Otherwise, it's just not going to look good at all. Not that this texture in here is going to look all that great, but okay, so let's say I have a texture on the ground. Oops, let me put that on current layer. right? So let's say I have a texture on the ground. Let's see. Let's roughly deselect these rocks. I didn't lay down perfect flats on all of this. And then I'll do that. And we can color correct this, to the way that we want it and everything. But the thing is, like, for all this texture going on, it's just taken away from the even if we threw in like a photo of mountains, or here's like a photo for the lake and all this other stuff. You're losing the main focus. You don't want somebody coming up here and like, oh my god, look at this tree, look at those textures that he used. How did he do that? Or how did she pull off this grass? It looks miraculous. No, I mean the main focus is going to be the hero and his dog, and that's the way it should be. So if you decide to use your textures, you want to use them sparingly, and don't go overboard with them. Just real subtle. Let me see. I guess let me close this out. And here's just a quick drawing I put together again to kind of go with this tutorial. Talk about using textures in perspective, and just to show you. I mean, even though the perspective is the penciler's job. Just like I was talking about, a color should also know a little bit about inking and a little bit about penciling, the planes of the face, the anatomy for the body, and stuff like that. I think perspective is a pretty important thing to learn as well. Again, not saying you have to be a master at it, but just knowing the basics, would really help out a lot. Let me open up a new layer. And so we have these lines, it goes off into a vanishing point, obviously. The penciler took the time to put this together. Usually what I'll do if I'm going to be comping something together based off of this or coloring it, what I'll do is I'll go ahead and open up a new layer on top of everything. Let me just get a nice hard brush so I can see what I'm doing. Yeah, there we go. Nice hard brush on top of everything, and I'll just pull out my working on a Cintiq, so it's a little bit easier for me. I'll just pull out my ruler, just put it on the screen, and again, I'll just start marking this out. Just going, okay, this line here is going over here. Let's see where this line here is going down there. This line here is going there. So, just looking at this right now, we can see the person did a pretty good job with the perspective, with the vanishing point, and matching it all up. So we could see just from this, let me get a different color here, that around this area here is going to be our vanishing point. Sometimes an artist will just kind of do it freehand, and you might have a vanishing point up here, but a little bit higher. Usually what I'll do, I'll kind of cut it in the middle, just so that it doesn't look totally wrong. But most of the time, you will be able to just, pulling out your ruler, or you could even do the, let's see, hit U and use your line tool. 3 pixels, that should be good. Or, you could do a little bit fatter. Let's do 5 pixels. You know, so we can go get rid of those. Then we just go right here and follow that line right there. Okay, there's that one. That one down there. Let's start this. That lines up with that line. This one here lines up with that. This one is right there. That one right there. So, you know, if you don't happen to have a ruler handy, or if you're on a regular Wacom tablet, you don't want to bust out your ruler, you just use the line tool. And it's just as easy. So we have that established. You know, so now, since we know where our grid is, we can just go ahead and start. See, some of these aren't going to match up perfectly, but it'll be close enough, just because the lines weren't 100%. We could just start pulling out lines now from this point, and then everything else should be in perspective. So, and this is just going to be like just a rough grid. You know, it's not going to be perfect or anything like that. And yeah, you don't need that many lines. I'm just going to show you. So we want to have this building here with a brick texture on it. Let me see, where's my bridge at? Oh, there we go. Let me go back to my backgrounds, building textures. Have a nice brick wall right here. Let's see. So I'll paste it in there. We'll get that going. Now we have our perspective lines here already. So now it's just as simple as matching these up. So you turn that off and you can see now that brick wall is in perfect perspective. Now what we can do, I wouldn't recommend using photos like in your backgrounds and stuff like that. It's going to be too jarring and it's going to be taking away the focus from your characters. But along those same lines, what we can do, say we have, let me get a new layer. We have our texture brushes that we can use, right? So I love my block brush that I have here. Oops, let me get a different color, that might help. Get a little bit of red in here. You know, hopefully at this point maybe the guy drew lines for the bricks, maybe not. Let's see, a little bit darker. But you know, just to get some texture in there. Now we can take this. Now we did flat. Now we can put this in perspective. Oops, let me get my lines back up, make sure we're doing it correctly. There you go. Let me turn those off. See, how do you like that? So now that's in perspective. Again, just quick, easy steps that could save you tons of time. Again, learning perspective is going to help you out a lot. Not only this type of perspective, but also we call aerial perspective. So say if the sun is overhead, let's say. Let's do a blue sky. You know, we'll have the sun up here. You know, we might have the foreground in front of us is going to be darker, and part over here, the wall in the background here is going to be lighter. So you know, you might want to hit it with a little a lighter shade or whatever. Um, as things fade off into the distance, the lighter they get, less contrast that they have, and the closer they are to you, the more contrast and the darker. Um, so yeah, that's the basics. Using texture brushes. Again, I wish I could easily just give you guys a folder to download. Like, here's my brushes, but I downloaded them from so many different places. Unfortunately, I couldn't. I couldn't credit the proper people that created them, and a lot of people have like their terms of use, where they don't want them redistributed by somebody else or whatever, and so it makes it a lot more difficult for me. But yeah, just think about what you want to look for and do a search. Google DeviantArt again is another great resource for texture brushes. Um, and what works great for me may not work great for the next person. But yeah, also try and make your own. Look at my video I had, um, and see what you can do. I think it's from back in April is when I had that video. It's Tips and Tricks episode 3. That was a while back. But yeah, if you have any questions, send me a message either here or on DeviantArt. It's lemage.deviantart.com. And I'd like to thank everybody for subscribing, and thanks to all the new subscribers. Welcome. Hope you guys stick around a while. And yeah, I think that's about it. And yeah, I guess I'll see you guys soon. All right, thanks for watching. Talk to you later.